What is it about whiskey that pulled you in and is keeping you here? Let's answer that. This episode will probably be a little different than some of the ones I've done recently where they were list driven or, we were doing a ton of reviews previously. This might be a really short kind of blog style, if you will. I don't know. But I was watching Bourbon Kingdom's video from a few months back when Four Roses had done the huge release and the 16 year where I went to the flood relief victims. And they were talking all about how people viewed that and viewed allocation, all that. But at the very end, they kind of started to take a quick riff about why they love bourbon. So it got my mind going quite a bit around what would be some of those reasons people have gotten into whiskey or bourbon and that keep us here. In all honesty, I think one of the most obvious ones is the one they mentioned, community. So we can probably tie everything back in a way to community, but there's got to be others out there, and I know of a few. So let's answer that. Let's go through that. What are some of those things? My hope for this video is that you guys actually leave some of your thoughts below as to what brought you into the whiskey community or bourbon community, whatever portion or however small you've limited that to, and keeps you here, and share some of those experiences, because that's really honestly for me what I want to do to continue to build this community. We've had such a great response so far from all of you, whether you've been here since day one or yesterday was your day one. You guys have been so chill and just sharing, and I want to continue to build that, just foster that. So for me, I'm going to answer and say, yeah, community is a big deal. I wouldn't have this YouTube channel if it wasn't. I really, really, truly mean, I enjoy sitting down, grabbing like a 1792 full proof this evening. I felt it was a little something for sit down and just kind of go through that with you guys, because I've heard so many things. I mean, I can tell you for me, coming out of really enjoying craft beer for the last decade or so, and not getting into the bourbon until about the last 3 years a little more heavily, it really was all about the community of craft beer, and that's transitioned over into the whiskey community as well. There's so many great people. Yeah, we have our bad actors. That's fine. Every community does. It's not a big deal. But I also know there's other reasons why people are here, and we have to respect and honor that too. One of the things that I know I've had personal acquaintances tell me is I didn't like beer, so my friend offered me Jack in college, or whatever, alternative name, wherever it is. Don't know what your gateway is. I couldn't even tell you what my gateway whiskey is. That's the weird part. So we can probably make a whole video about that too, but we won't. We'll try to stay pretty brief here and get some good conversation going. But whether it's because you just didn't like any other alcohol and you wanted to drink, which kind of comes back to probably being social again, we can tie that mostly back. I've also seen people say it's because my dad was a Scotch lover. And so growing up, of course, it was all legal drinks, right? He introduced me to Scotch, and that's exactly how I got into Scotch. Or, it is something else where there's regionality to it, right? Like, hey, we lived in Kentucky growing up, and so I was introduced to bourbon. It was all around, and it just seemed normal and natural, and that's how I got in. There's any number of ways that certainly you could say this works, and how you got into it and why you enjoy it. I can say that, certainly in terms of deepening my enjoyment of bourbon and whiskey, was around the time the pandemic hit. I mean, I won't really pull any punches and tell people that I was a huge bourbon head before that. I wasn't. But we did the whole, let's take a pour and go sit in the hot tub and, do some medicine that way. And that's how I came to appreciate some of the more variety, because I was stuck in drinking just some, just one or two different types of bottles. I really hadn't spread out my wings too far there. I had some wild turkey. That's about it, to be honest with you, besides having Jack and things like that. Speaking of Jack, one of the ones that also hits my mind is, was it something that just happened because you were, your college years were your formative years, and, that handle of Jack every Friday night was $9 at the local college, liquor store, and whether you were legal to buy it or not, you got it somehow, and that's what happened. Any number of things are out there, so I'd love to know about that. I think the other thing I really do kind of come back to, especially more as I start to think about when I turned the corner about 3 years ago and really started moving away from craft beer from my daily drinker to more of a whiskey drinker, was really just going and seeing the experiences of these places. And so I'll be the first one to tell you, I don't take a tour at every distillery I go to, because I think by and large, we all read enough, we all see enough, we all know enough to know the basic process. Now, do they have little twists and turns that they do for their own process? Yes, they do. But I go more and experience the tastings, because at this point also, I've come just to enjoy the flavors of this. Even when it's something that's not my flavor profile, I still want to drink it and learn about it. So there's some bourbon nerdism that some people actually are drawn to on this as well. Whatever the reason is for you to be drawn to this, I'd love to know more about why that is. So please, let's drop some comments below, get some conversation started. I'd love to see the interaction. Maybe we find some commonality and can continue these things. If you liked this format where we're just sitting down and having a conversation, there's very little, I don't even know if I'll slam any B-roll in here or not, which could be kind of boring. We'll definitely do some cuts to make sure you guys stay interested. Please be sure to let me know that too. If you think this is just not a great idea and you prefer to just use your podcast somewhere else, then tell me that too. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. I just really want to get content out there that continues to grow the community and continues to just add value and helps people learn about each other and grow. So until next time, guys, cheers.